Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. Today's video we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at the Daniel Levy interview that he gave and in regards to talking a few things to do with Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, including obviously Tottenham's lack of success in these past 15 years from obviously their last trophy triumph, which was of course the League Cup back in 2008. He talks a little bit about Harry Kane as well, and he even touches upon maybe even selling Tottenham Hotspur in the future. There were some quite interesting and very intriguing comments to me that I wanted to bring to light and talk about, so that's what this video basically is stemming from. Before we get into all of that though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And also, I encourage you to get involved in the comment section as well. What do you make of Tottenham Hotspur, their season that has been, their future, and of course Daniel Levy as a whole? All of those kinds of things will make for great and interesting reading down below in the comment section, I'm sure. But for now, let's get back into the video. Let's talk this Daniel Levy interview that he gave, and which has been tweeted around and floated around some of the quotes and comments that were made by Levy in regards to Tottenham Hotspur. Look, we'll just dive straight into it. The one that instantly stood out for me is the one where he talks about the last 15 years, the lack of success, but says they had fantastic times. The actual quote is, "Am I happy that we haven't won more than one trophy in the last 15 years? Absolutely not. But I also think that we've had some fantastic times. The ultimate goal is to win trophies. That is clearly what we are trying to do. It's easier said than done." Now, I agree with him. To win trophies, it is easier said than done. But I don't agree with him in the fact that I don't really see that's what they're trying to do. Like he says, they haven't won a trophy in the last 15 years. Unless you count fantastic times as a trophy. Because that's what he seems to be saying here. There's been no trophies, but there are some fantastic times. Honestly, I don't see the fantastic times. I see a team that has finished third in a two-horse race for the Premier League title. I've seen a team that has got to multiple semi-finals of domestic competitions and failed. I've seen a team that came second in the Premier League but didn't really challenge still. The team that finished ahead of them were miles clear and miles better than them throughout the entire course of that season, ran away with the league title, and Tottenham were never even seen as title contenders, despite obviously finishing what you would quote to say runners-up, the silver medal, that kind of thing. The only fantastic time I can really remember from Tottenham was the Champions League semi-final, and then being a part of the Champions League final, in which I maintain this to the very day. Had Mauricio Pochettino had the balls, the guts, to drop Harry Kane and put Lucas Moura in, Lucas Moura being the hero of obviously that semi-final, Harry Kane not being fully fit at the time, only returning because obviously there was a massive game on the horizon of the Champions League, maybe things might have been a bit differently, because it was a very poor final. I'm obviously very happy Liverpool won it because obviously they're my team and everything. But I think Pochettino made a big call and a bit of a gamble that ultimately didn't pay off. So if you're talking about fantastic times, the Champions League semi-final of 2019, yes, fantastic time. Not times, not plural. Everything else, when you put it into context, poor, bang average, mediocre. And then he goes on to try and say that he's obviously clearly trying to win more trophies. I don't see that. I see the managers you bring in show a bit of ambition. Jose Mourinho, even for the time that was obviously what came into this job with a massive pedigree and a massive resume and everything. Antonio Conte is another one. So there is a bit of ambition there, but they haven't ultimately worked out, and they've been totally different managers in between, the likes of Nuno Espirito Santo, for example. Pochettino, obviously, previously being different to Mourinho, different to Nuno, different to then Conte. The managers you brought in have been a bit ambitious, I'll give you that. Ultimately, though, haven't worked. And it's ultimately haven't worked because you haven't backed them properly. And the ironic thing is that if you'd have backed Pochettino when he did come second in the league, if you'd have backed Pochettino when he was getting far in domestic competitions, if you'd have backed Pochettino when you lost the Champions League final, instead of letting the squad go stale for about 3 transfer windows, ultimately, I believe Tottenham may have won something by now, because they were on the cusp of something. They were on the cusp of maybe going that extra mile with a bit more financial injection, a bit more quality in key areas that would have definitely helped Tottenham along and may have even got Tottenham to maybe a trophy. That ultimately hasn't happened. And it's because you didn't back Pochettino at the time. But then the ironic thing is that you bring in a Jose Mourinho, you bring in a Nuno Espirito Santo, you bring in an Antonio Conte, and you back them. You back them in a time where they needed to rebuild the squad, rip out the kind of Pochettino era a little bit, then obviously the Mourinho era a little bit, then part of the Nuno era for the time he was there, albeit short. And now you've got to do it again with Conte. Are you going to do it? Probably not. Probably not. So, yeah, it does seem to me like he doesn't really have a clue. If you hadn't already guessed. If you hadn't already figured out that he doesn't really have a clue about what he's doing. He goes on to talk about Arsenal a little bit as well, in the same manner as when he was talking about his own club's achievements. He says, despite the fact that I feel sick that there is a club in North London that's a bit higher than us at this time, if I look back in the last 5 years, we've been higher than them. We've had some fantastic times. Again, fantastic times. Finishing above your fierce local rivals. Yeah, I get it. It's great. I'll never kind of understand that completely. Liverpool finish above Everton all the time. And obviously for the past several years, Liverpool have finished higher and been better than Manchester United for the past decade. There was obviously 1 or 2 seasons where United finished above us, but when you look at the trophies that were won, Liverpool outweigh United over the cross decade. If that's the mentality he's got. The mentality is he finishes above Arsenal. That's what's in here. He finishes above Arsenal. Arsenal still had a very successful period during that time, though. They may not have got Champions League football for the majority of that time. They may have fallen out of that kind of realm of top 4, shall we say. But they've had numerous FA Cup successes. And they've obviously been enjoying a rebuild under Mikel Arteta these past couple of years. That is obviously now seeing them challenge for titles. And whilst they have the youngest club, the youngest squad, should I say, in the division, they're only going to get better from there, you would imagine. They're only going to get stronger as a group. They're only going to add more to it. They're going to get Champions League. And you would imagine that they might get stronger. And obviously with Tottenham, the way that they're going, the way they seemingly are deteriorating, the way that Harry Kane is dragging them through this season, and with him possibly being on the way out of Tottenham come the summer, I don't see Tottenham getting any better. I see them getting worse to a very mediocre team, a team that is lying maybe mid-table, maybe even worse. Maybe even worse when you consider that next year Son will be a year older. A couple of the big players or important players might not be there anymore. A new manager coming in, that's always going to be a bit of a gamble depending on who that will be. You do worry for Tottenham, and obviously you do see Daniel Levy talk about this stuff. And of course he's got to try and put a positive spin on things and a brave face on things. Surely he must know, right? Surely he must know that there's no way you can talk about Arsenal like this and claim it's a good thing that you've been finishing above them. Because, okay, you've been finishing above them. You've been getting in Champions League. You've been in Champions League for the past few years just to make up the numbers. the Champions League run to the final was rather fortuitous, but you still had to get there. I get that. But even in the final, you didn't turn up. You've been finishing above Arsenal, but Arsenal have been getting to Europa League finals, FA Cup finals, and winning them. Won multiple FA Cup finals, despite the fact that this was obviously Arsenal's worst time period, or one of Arsenal's worst time periods in, obviously, the last few years of Arsene Wenger going into the Unai Emery era. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And again, he uses the Fantastic Times bit. Again, embarrassing a little bit. I wouldn't want my club to be speaking out about, when we finished above Everton, isn't that enough? No. That's the same here. Finishing above Arsenal is not enough for Tottenham, who have gone, like he says, 15 years without a trophy. He touches on Harry Kane as well. He says, Harry Kane can absolutely win a trophy at Spurs, but being a legend is also important. I hope one day that there is a statue of Harry outside our stadium. The fact that he's top goal scorer of Spurs, he's making history. And yes, again, there is an element of truth to that. He's making history as a Spurs legend, a Tottenham legend, and maybe one day he is going to break that Premier League all-time top goal scorer record that currently Alan Shearer holds, in terms of he will become a bit of a Premier League legend without winning the Premier League, if obviously he stays at Spurs. So yes, he is obviously making history at Spurs by being the top goal scorer of the club. But to say that he can win a trophy at Spurs, a League Cup is never normally out of the question, because anything can happen in the League Cup, especially with the way that the big teams kind of use it as a way of resting their key players, and upsets kind of happen every year. And obviously, I don't think anyone really predicted a Manchester United versus Newcastle final this season. So a League Cup may be possible, but it's not enough. It's definitely not enough for a player of Harry Kane's calibre to be finishing his career top goal scorer and one League Cup. It's not good enough for him. And like I say, it's because Levy hasn't done enough. And I go back to my big point earlier about how they didn't back Pochettino at the right time. When Kane was hitting form constantly, when Son was hitting form constantly, when they were the most dangerous duo in the Premier League, when Tottenham had a solid defence, when Tottenham had a midfield that was solid and was very versatile, that was the point to strengthen. That was a point to go one step further and to obviously go on and give Harry Kane whatever he wanted. Give the Tottenham fans whatever they wanted. He didn't do it. He didn't do it. And there is absolutely no way, in my opinion, that Harry Kane is winning anything more than a League Cup. Like I say, it's always possible that a League Cup might actually happen, because it's the League Cup and it's just one of those competitions. If he does win it, great. It won't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. People will still take the mick and people will still banter, because it's, it's one of those trophies where if you win it, cool. If you don't win it, it's not the end of the world. I won it. Liverpool won it last year. I was happy that we won it. Of course I was. It was another trophy to add to the collection. It was also a trophy that Jurgen Klopp had not won. But at the same time, would I trade it in for a Premier League trophy or another Champions League? Damn right I would. Damn right I would. Obviously. No brainer. I don't see Kane winning a trophy at Spurs unless it's that competition. As far as he goes, look, if he does see out the rest of his career at Spurs, he's going to obviously get a statue outside of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If that's what he wants his legacy to be, that's what he wants his legacy to be. He'll go down as in sort of the Steven Gerrard category as probably one of the best players to have never won a Premier League title. Gerrard, in my opinion, being the best. Maybe a little bit biased, but genuinely one of the best players to never win a Premier League title. Harry Kane will become one of them. And I can't see him doing it at Spurs. And I think this summer is his last chance. I think this summer is definitely his last chance to break away from Spurs, go and join a club that is on the up, on the projected up, and go on and win a trophy or two. Challenge for that Premier League title. Manchester United seems the obvious option, as I've discussed before. Chelsea, it's possible. I think with the money that they've got and with the ambition that they have, it's definitely possible. And obviously they definitely need a goal scorer because, Jesus Christ, Chelsea play some good football at times. And if they could play Kane into those chances that they miss constantly and have missed constantly this season, they'd be scoring so many more goals. But will he want to go there? It is a bit of a gamble, despite the fact that they've got a huge ambition. One of those two teams, I think, will take him this summer if he does decide to leave. So I'm leaning more towards United, to be honest, than Chelsea. But we'll have to wait and see what the future holds. And finally, Levy on selling Tottenham. We have a duty to consider any proposal that anybody wants to make. All I will say is that we are not in negotiations with anybody, nor have we been over recent months. So get used to it, Tottenham fans. It seems that Daniel Levy is going to be, and the rest of the board and the rest of the people in power are going to be in charge of Tottenham for a long time. From the outside looking in, look, as a I say rival, not really a rival. As a Liverpool fan, not bothered. We've got ownership problems of our own, so do not care really about anyone from anyone outside of my club to an extent. But at the same time, if I was to be completely neutral and to be completely honest, I do feel sorry for Tottenham fans that they've had to put up with this guy, Mr. Potato Head, running a football club. Not good. Definitely not good. He is draining that club dry. He's trying to put a spin on things that is obviously very see-through, very transparent. And ultimately, he's messed up. And he messed up at key points during this Tottenham timeline, which could have gone a very different way had he obviously been a bit more ambitious, pushed the boat out a little bit more, or whatever the case may be, to obviously have backed Pochettino the way that he did for the next 3 managers to come in after him. That's just my thoughts. Those are just my comments, my opinions, my predictions, my feelings, whatever you want to call it on this Daniel Levy thing. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this Daniel Levy interview? What do you make of Tottenham as a whole? Where do you see them going in the future? What do you make of the future of Harry Kane as well, seeing as we touched upon it as in this video? I'd love to know your guys' thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, down below in the comment section. I'm sure it'll make for interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Want to see more content like this. Both things always have be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. And I'll see you all again soon in another video.